Greetings, fellow travelers through the liturgical year. This is Lisa Davis with another Feast Day quick take on one of our all-time favorite saints and mentors, Saint John Bosco. Born Giovanni Melchior Bosco on the 16th of August, 1881, Don Bosco is well known for a variety of accomplishments which he achieved for souls while under the beretta of an Italian diocesan priest. The son of a poor farmer, his father died when he was a toddler. His natural affinity and sympathy with the plight of the poor found its vocation in administering to the souls of young men and boys born into the lower classes, those who so often turn to lives of crime and sin. Taken under the wing of St. Joseph Cafasso when he was a young teen, St. John received his education through the charity of that saint and was ordained a priest in 1841. Practically before the chrism had quite dried on his consecrated hands, he'd already begun his life's work toward the education and spiritual reclamation of the street children of Turin, Italy, the young juvenile delinquents, the orphans, and any and all other disadvantaged youth. Observing that the system of imprisonment and other punishments of the wayward treated the crime but seldom rehabilitated the person, Don Bosco developed a teaching method based on love and respect rather than punishment. Because it stemmed from the philosophies of his spiritual mentor, St. Francis de Sales, whose feast day incidentally was a couple days ago on the 29th, he called this new form of education the Salesian preventive system, which I'll come back to in a minute. Over time, Don Bosco's much-needed intercession for troubled and endangered youth built success upon success, answering a great need in the city, and his houses provided for the instruction and lodging of many young men called oratories, spread throughout Italy and ultimately the world. His devotion to the Blessed Mother under the title of Mary, Help of Christians, directed and influenced this important work. With the help of St. Maria Mazzarello, he founded a similar order for women and girls called the Institute of the Daughters of Mary, Help of Christians, commonly known as the Salesian Sisters of Don Bosco. Always endeavoring to provide relief for the working poor, Don Bosco helped found the first mutual aid society in Italy, the Catholic version of Workmen's Comp, that relied on the help of fellow Catholics rather than the government. He also established the Association of Mary, Help of Christians, a spiritual society connected to the Salesian congregation, whose chief purpose was to promote veneration of the Blessed Sacrament and spread devotion to Our Lady under the title of Mary, Help of Christians. He also established the Association of Salesian Cooperators, with the same mission of education and spiritual care for the poor, a congregation of lay educators still in existence with over 25,000 associates today. In 1875, St. John Bosco began publishing his Salesian Bulletin, a periodical that has remained in constant publication to this day. It's printed in 30 languages and distributed throughout the world, though sadly, like the Cooperators and the Order in general, it is run under the auspices of the Conciliar Church. Don Bosco was the author of over 70 books by his own hand, many of them Lives of the Saints, and over 220 volumes of periodicals and pamphlets, which he supervised the printing of within his student-run Salesian print shops. As often is the case, St. John Bosco was a saint among saints, influencing and being influenced by other holy laborers. Besides his association with his teacher, St. Joseph Cafasso, and his co-founder, St. Maria Mazzarello, he is well known as the mentor of St. Dominic Savio. Don Bosco's first-hand biography of the young saint aided in the cause of St. Dominic's canonization by Pope Pius XII in 1954, a few years after his biographer Don Bosco was added to the liturgical calendar himself. It would have been hard for St. Dominic Savio's cause researchers to find a more credible source than Don Bosco. His sanctity was well known to all by the piety of his life. The good were drawn to him, the evil hated him, and even attempted to assassinate him on several occasions, always foiled by miracles of one sort or another, including the gift of his canine angel, Grigio. God saw fit, under the name of his Holy Mother, Mary, Help of Christians, to bless Don Bosco's devotion and provide plentiful proof of his divine approval. During the process of Don Bosco's beatification, incidences of miracles attesting to his holiness poured by the barrelful into the Vatican offices, including dozens of accounts of miraculous healings before and after the death of Don Bosco. Through the intercession of the Blessed Mother, he had led the blind to see, the lame to walk, and the dying to be restored to health. He once fed a whole school of boys with a bag of nuts, and in a more sublime multiplication, he was able once to distribute the Blessed Sacrament to 500 boys from only a handful of hosts. He was known to have bilocated. He could read consciences, and is recorded on one occasion of having raised the dead, and he is well known for his prophetic dreams. All wonders he unwaveringly attributed to the intercession of the Blessed Mother by the hand of God. But as we know, of course, the prayers of good Don Bosco were made instrumental by his pious life, his great faith, his love of God, and his love of souls. His cause was not a complicated one for the Vatican to discern. St. John Bosco died in 1888. He was beatified by Pope Pius XI in 1929 and canonized by the same pope in 1934. He was given the title Father and Teacher of Youth, and he is an incorruptible, entombed at the Basilica of Mary Help of Christians in Turin, Italy. He's the patron saint of Christian apprentices, of editors, publishers, students, young children, magicians, and juvenile delinquents. I can't complete a biography of St. John Bosco without talking a little about his prophetic dreams, and I did want to introduce a bit of his theory of education, the Salesian preventive system. In 1825, when he was just 9 years old, Don Bosco had the first of a series of dreams which he said in his memoirs, quote, left a profound impression on him for the rest of his life. In his first dream, he saw a raggedy gang of young boys playing roughly and blaspheming. Nearby, a man who appeared nobly attired with a manly and imposing bearing said to him, quote, not with blows, but with charity and gentleness must you draw these friends to the path of virtue. Begin right now to show them that sin is ugly and virtue beautiful. This heavenly instruction, added to the counsels he'd read of St. Francis de Sales, remember St. Francis's famous quote, you can catch more flies with a teaspoon of honey than with a barrel of vinegar. Add this to his own keen understanding of human nature, and the minds of boys and young men in particular, multiplied by the grace of God and of good common sense. Altogether this became the Salesian method of education. St. John Bosco received many other prophetic dreams. Of particular notice to us here would be those having to do with the current tumult in the Church and the papacy. To learn more, we recommend the book, The 40 Dreams of St. John Bosco. A fascinating read is published by TAN and can be found online right now at Thrift Books and Abe Books. These dreams, for the most part, are above my pay grade to comment on, but Dan and I can speak to the ones that concern the Salesian method. In the next week or two, we'd like to sit down and make a podcast about this style of education. In general terms, how it works in a homeschool setting, how we personally try to utilize it, and how or if St. John Bosco and St. Francis de Sales' honey method reconciles with the Bible verse, spare the rod and spoil the child. So stay tuned. St. John Bosco, please guide Catholic Family Podcast as we discern content as a digital publisher, and intercede for all of us who are parents and or teachers as we raise and instruct our children to save their souls while making their ways in this crazy world. Blessed be God in his angels and in his saints.